Hi, this is Kate from Generate Magic. So I just had a memory today of the very first video I ever posted on YouTube. And it was completely unplanned, completely spontaneous. I just happened to be at the river in Mexico with, I'll just call him a very special dog named Baku. She wasn't my dog, but yes, I'll just say a special dog. And she was splashing around in the river and the sun was shining down on the water and just very sparkly like diamonds. And it was just very beautiful. And so just very quickly, I just shot some video of Baku in the river. And then at the very last moment, I just kind of decided, or spur of the moment, I decided to upload the video on YouTube. And I named it Baku at the River. And the whole thing took less than a minute. So completely unplanned, completely spontaneous, no effort at all that went into it. And to this very day, that video remains the video that's gotten the most views out of any other video that I posted on YouTube. It got, I think, over 2,000 views, which by far is more than any other video that I've done. And so immediately I wanted to recapture that magic formula. And so I was like, well, obviously people like dog videos. And it's kind of a cliche, right, that people like animal videos or photos of animals on social media. And so I was like, I'll just shoot another cute dog video. And so then, and because I didn't actually own a dog, I had to kind of seek out moments with dogs. And so then I happened to be in Mexico City and I saw some dogs splashing around in a fountain in the park. And it was also just a very beautiful, very magical moment. And so I took out my video and I shot it. And once again, I posted it on YouTube. But that video, even though it was a wonderful video and just a very joyful, magical moment, it did not get nearly as many views as that first video did. And it reminds me of a book called Remainder by Tom McCarthy, one of my favorite books. And it's about this man who has a moment which he considers to be a very magical moment, like just something kind of out of the ordinary. And then he happens to get, I don't remember the exact details, but I believe he gets in an accident and gets a settlement as a result of the accident. And so he decides that he's going to use the money to try and recreate this magical moment. And so he hires a film crew and he pours tons and tons of money and resources into trying to recreate this moment. But naturally, as you can probably guess, it never quite goes down the way that he had hoped. He never really can recapture that magic. And in fact, all the effort and all the strain that goes into it actually kind of worsens his mental state, or you could say kind of brings him further away from the magic that he originally felt whenever he experienced this moment. And I've given that example before of that book, but I want to kind of come at it from a different angle because I was just thinking about how we watch these videos and we read success stories and we look at what other people have done, what affirmations they use, what techniques we used. And every time without fail, I'll see somebody that will post a success story in one of these manifestation communities or even just in the comments of a video. And then immediately all these people will start asking the original commenter, what did you do? And sometimes even if they very clearly kind of explained what it was that they did, people still want to ask more and more questions. And there's no shame and no condemnation. I've definitely been there as well. And just watching video after video, reading success story after success story, just trying to find that magic formula and trying to take somebody else's blueprint and recreate the blueprint and try and recreate that success for myself. And also, kind of like I was describing with the dog video, and also kind of like the book describes, right, where the man tries to recreate that magic moment with the film crew, I was kind of looking through my own life, and I have a habit of just taking very extensive, very exhaustive notes. And so poring over all my notes and trying to kind of reverse engineer past successes, or what I would consider to be past successes or past wins, and just trying to recreate that magic. And naturally, if you come at it from this logical, kind of analytical perspective, and also I was coming at it, I want to add, like with a lot of effort and strain, I felt like the man in the book, I felt like I was just getting further and further away from my goal. And I was just getting more and more frustrated. And it was kind of like, and when you're doing a recipe and you expect that when you combine all the ingredients together that it's going to turn out, you know, exactly the way that you expected. Or like math, when you put together the numbers or you put together the variables, if we're talking about algebra, and you always expect the same result to occur. And so that's what I was expecting, and I was getting very frustrated when this would not occur. And so, and of course, the reason that it didn't work out that way is because really the magic formula is you. And of course we can use processes and techniques, but it's all in how we synthesize these processes and techniques, and all how we integrate it into our own being, because we are all unique beings and we all have our own point of consciousness and an infinite number of experiences and perspectives. And it really is just kind of a beautiful magical brew when you really think about it. And it really is, and in that sense it is kind of like a magical formula. But I want to emphasize that the key ingredient, and I would say the sole ingredient, the most important ingredient in this magic formula is you. And I felt more and more so in my life that everything that I was looking for, the peace, the joy, the fulfillment, the bliss, that I have been experiencing it more these days, but it's come about very organically and very much in a way that is not felt forced at all. And I want to also give you, and I'm sure most of you watching have probably heard this quote from Neville Goddard, and it has to do with the line, "Isn't it wonderful?" And I want to really focus on the part of the quote where he says that when you kind of tap into this general state of harmony and peace and bliss and everything being wonderful, then all the little things will be added unto you. And I had heard that a million times, and I had even kind of done like challenges where you would affirm, "Isn't it wonderful?" to yourself over and over again. And again, kind of approaching it sort of like a formula or a blueprint, and expecting to plug one thing into the equation and then expecting a result to pop out like a machine. And so I was coming about in this very mechanical way. But I think with a lot of things, the more that I revisited that quote, the more layers that have revealed myself to me. And I realized that even though I thought that I was focused on the end state and focused on the joy and the harmony and the bliss, and I was focused on generating the magic within me, as the title of my channel implies, I was still, I would say my predominant focus was still on the little things. And I just felt like, okay, if I can get those little things in place, then I'll finally experience that end state. Then I'll finally experience the bliss and the harmony and the fulfillment that I was craving. But I just have to get these little things in place first. But finally, and again, it's all come about in a very organic way of just really kind of leaning in to the sense of everything being wonderful. And I've mentioned in other videos this affirmation, or I guess some people like to say askramation, that I've used of why is my life so perfect? And I first started saying it with a lot of things, like kind of trying to make something happen out there. But then one day I was walking along the beach and I was saying this to myself, And even though there were a lot of things in my life at that time that I was not happy about, particularly when it came to my financial situation, all of a sudden I looked around me and I was like, my life really is perfect. And it was very much a realization that came from within and not from anything external. But when I had this realization, it's kind of like the external world began to reflect this. And it's almost like the whole sky took on this very beautiful, magical glow. And it was the glow of love, as I've also mentioned before. And so just kind of bringing it all together, the state, and there's a lot of different terms that we can use for it, and there's a lot of different ways that we can go about accessing the state. But the state where everything is wonderful, and the state where everything is encased in the glow of love, more and more so each day, I felt that it's really just become superimposed over everything. And it really is true, I'm experiencing it for myself, that all the little things really do begin to sort themselves out. And for so long I thought, especially when I learned about manifestation, I thought that I just had to micromanage every area of my life, and I had to, always, I felt pressured to always be thinking loving thoughts, and just kind of every little thought, and every, just trying to feel positive all the time and trying to feel happy all the time, and then feeling discouraged or beating myself up when I did not feel that way, or when I was not thinking loving thoughts. And all of that, all of those concerns have really just dissipated, because I found even when from my human self, I'm not believing and I'm not necessarily thinking the most loving thoughts. I found that is in a wonderful state. It's like this blanket is the best way I can describe it. And it just really kind of, I don't think cancels everything out is the best way of describing it, but it really just kind of, I found myself kind of aligned. It's like a bridge. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's a bridge that aligns me with whatever you want to call it, God, the divine, I am. It aligns me with this higher state. And it's like immediately I can tap into this God energy. And I'm finally also beginning to understand the statement, with God, all things are possible. And case in point, I was experiencing some disharmony. Mostly, I guess you could kind of say it's all internal, right? But some internal disharmony with some family members. And I was, just kind of in my head a lot. I was kind of having arguments and just feeling a lot of conflict around it. And then they would say certain things that would kind of trigger more of these thoughts and more of these internal reactions. And then I had a conversation with one of these said family members that was the complete opposite. It was very harmonious. It was very joyful, and it reflected all of the things that I wanted. In terms of, it just felt very like nuanced, and there was very much this level of mutual understanding and genuine harmony, as opposed to maybe in the past it was kind of more of the sense of kind of like walking on eggshells, or not really saying what I really felt because I wanted to keep the peace, or quote unquote keep the peace. But it felt very genuine. And I want to emphasize that this is not something that I intently focused on. It's not something that I intently affirmed over and over again or visualized. It really kind of defied all expectations. It's not something that my human self would have believed would happen. And so it just kind of showed me, again, the magic of aligning with this God state and aligning with the sense that everything is wonderful. And so what I've been doing for myself, I would say these past few months, is just again affirming to myself, why is my life so perfect? And just kind of experiencing this state as I go about my day where everything is encased in this glow of love, and it becomes kind of like an amalgam or a lens through which I view the world. And so it's just so comforting to know that our human selves, that we don't have to have it all figured out, and we don't have to have, again, from that human perspective, we don't have to have it, we don't have to be perfect. And that it really, when we align with this God power, we can really accomplish so much, and we really can truly move mountains. And so this is also kind of why I wanted to make this video, was as a word of encouragement, because I never thought that I would be talking about this or saying these things. And when people, I guess like other teachers, would say things like, be still and know that you're God, and they would kind of say things like, oh, just assume it, or just claim it, I would almost kind of feel like they were insulting me, like in a certain way. And because I was like, well, some of us mortals can't do that. We have to kind of affirm things over and over again, or spend a lot of time, intently visualizing things. And so this, again, is not to kind of shame you if you are kind of at the point where you feel like you do need to affirm a lot, or you do need to visualize a lot, because that's where I was. And I still love to affirm to myself, just kind of like going about my day, doing the dishes or chores, or going, exercising or whatever. But now I think it's coming from a place where I enjoy doing it. And when I do it, I really feel that connection with God, and I feel that connection with the divine, as opposed to doing it because I feel like I have to kind of keep myself in check, or if I don't do it, then my wishes won't come true, or the things that I don't want to happen will happen, if that makes sense. And so I really just want to encourage you that if I can do it, as somebody who's identified for most of my life as like an overthinker and like an overanalyzer, and always just kind of making things way more difficult than they had to be. And so if it's possible for me, it's possible for you too. And just kind of leave you with the idea, right, that with God, all things are possible. And that beyond all these appearances and all these seeming imperfections, there really is this divine perfection that really transcends everything. And so with that, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.